It's Thursday, it's the 17th of July. I'm Moon Gon-young. This is ARIRANG News live from Seoul. Our top stories today. A firefighting helicopter returning to headquarters after taking part in search operations for the missing from April's deadly ferry accident crashes in a residential area in Korea's southern city of Gwangju. Now, all 5 on board are dead and 1 passerby injured. The two Koreas are currently holding working-level talks to discuss North Korea's participation in the upcoming Asian Games in South Korea. This is the first inter-Korean meeting over a sports event in more than 6 years. And Korea unveils an ambitious plan to create a nearly $2 billion market for clean and renewable energy, one it hopes will create more than 10,000 new jobs by 2017. We'll have those stories and more, but we begin with a tragic news out of Korea's southern city of Gwangju, where a firefighting helicopter crashed this Thursday morning, killing all 5 people on board. The chopper was returning from search operations at the site of April's ferry disaster when it went down in a residential area of the city. A high school student nearby the crash site was also injured and taken to the hospital. Fire authorities are investigating the cause of the incident and searching for other possible victims. Now on to other news. Despite a recent spate of provocations out of North Korea, the communist state still plans to send athletes and a cheering squad south of the border in September to, of course, take part in the Asian Games, which will be hosted in Korea's city of Incheon. Now, both sides are holding the talks on this Thursday to work out the details of that. Our Hwang Sang-hee reports.
Departing for the border village of Panmunjom for Thursday's working-level talks, South Korea's chief delegate said general issues surrounding the North's participation in the upcoming Asian Games will be up for discussion.
The working-level meeting is aimed at discussing practical issues regarding the participation of North Korean athletes and cheering squad members in the Incheon Asian Games. We enter the talks with sincerity with a goal of successfully hosting the Games.
Key agenda items in today's talks are the transportation and accommodations of the North Korean delegation at the Games and how their expenses will be covered. Also in question is just how many cheerleaders North Korea plans to bring across the border. If they plan to send a large number, as they've previously hinted, the squad might travel by ferry and use it as a place to stay, as they did during the 2002 Asian Games, which were hosted in the South Korean city of Busan. North Korea may also propose forming a joint cheering team and creating united teams for certain events. So far, South Korea has not been keen on the idea. The two sides are not expected to reach an agreement in their first meeting on Thursday. It's expected they'll need to hold additional rounds of talks before the Incheon Asian Games begin on September 19th. Hwang Sang-hee, ARIRANG News.
Well, in domestic politics, the race is on. Campaigning for the July 30th by-elections officially began this Thursday, and the stakes are high, the highest they've ever been, actually, for a by-election, with 15 parliamentary seats up for grabs. Our Ji Myung-gil explains why it's dubbed mini general elections.
For the next 13 days, 55 candidates will be on the campaign trail, battling it out for the 15 vacant parliamentary seats that are up for grabs in the July 30th by-elections. 6 of the 15 seats are located in Seoul and Gyeonggi-do province, 2 in the Gyeongsang-do provinces, and 4 in the Jeollado provinces. The ruling Saenuri Party is fielding candidates in all 15 races, and its new chairman Kim Moo-sung underscored how important the election is.
The Saenuri Party must secure a majority of parliamentary seats through the July 30th by-elections. For the next 2 weeks, I will concentrate solely on the election and postpone all decisions until the results are in.
With no clear winner in last month's local elections, the unified main opposition party is determined to make a strong showing on July 30th.
These by-elections are a match that pits our party, which strives for a brighter future for all Koreans, against the ruling party, which is filled with arrogance and is blinded by self-righteousness.
During the campaign period, the Saenuri Party is expected to emphasize its connection to President Park Geun-hye and its commitment to helping the administration achieve its goal of national reform. The main opposition party will focus on the government's mishandling of April's ferry tragedy and present alternatives to the ruling party's policies. Kim Young-gil, ARIRANG News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye and her science and technology advisors gathered on this Thursday to talk about specific plans to create new growth engines that could lead to job creation, while other challenges like Korea's aging society and climate change were also up for discussion. Here's our Choi Sun with this report.
Because of the aging global population and growing health concerns, the Advisory Council expects there to be rising demand for bio-related industries over the next 20 years. While the government's increased R&D investments have helped the nation emerge as a world-leading developer of new medicine, not enough of the research results are being commercialized. Pledging to make Korea one of the world's top 7 bio-strong nations by 2020, the presidential advisors propose supporting Korean firms that specialize in biosimilar medicine enter the global niche market as a number of innovative drugs are close to their patent expiration. There were suggestions of streamlining red tape in the bio-related industries, such as simplifying the approval process for medicinal and medical equipment treatments, which currently take up to 3 years, and reducing it to 80 days. There were suggestions of streamlining red tape in the bio-related industries, such as simplifying the approval process for medicinal and medical equipment treatments, which currently take up to 3 years, and reducing it to 80 days. On the subject of tackling climate change, the Science Ministry vowed to expand R&D investments in renewable energy-related technologies, such as solar and fuel cells and bioenergy, to $2 billion by 2020. The Energy Ministry put forth energy project models, including a so-called negawatt of making a profit from saved electricity designed to spur private investments and create jobs. Lastly, the Land Ministry suggested easing regulations and offering tax support to boost construction of self-sufficient zero-energy buildings that minimize energy usage through insulation. Choi Yu-sun, ARIRANG News.
Korea's economic policymakers have been drawing up measures to pull the country out of a low-growth trap since new Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan recently ordered them to explore all possible means to stimulate the economy. And this could include putting their hands on public funds as well. Our Song Ji-sun has the details.
The government has rolled out a supplementary budget this year, but is determined to utilize all available state-run funds to stimulate the economy. Unnamed government officials told reporters that some 10 trillion won, or around $10 billion will be injected into the economy from public funds this year. Details have yet to be released, but officials say the National Housing Fund, which accounts for 9% of some $500 billion of funds run by the government this year, will play a major role in bolstering the real estate market. As a way to generate more construction activity, the government will also guarantee greater profits to companies taking part in infrastructure projects. To press companies to avoid hoarding excess cash and to increase investments, the government is considering levying taxes for cash reserves exceeding a certain limit. The government, on the other hand, says it will grant tax breaks and other incentives to companies going public or offering higher dividends. A comprehensive policy package designed to stimulate domestic demand will be released next week. Song Ji-sun, ARIRANG News.
Well, as for the U.S. economy, it's expanding at a modest to moderate pace. That's according to the U.S. Federal Reserve's monthly report, which was released Wednesday. It said all regions of the U.S. continue to expand their economic activity in the 6-week period that ended in July 7th. It added that consumer spending and manufacturing were both up. Wall Street responded positively to the news with the S&P 500 and NASDAQ closing higher. The Dow Jones rose nearly 0.5% to close at its second record high close this month. Meanwhile, Korea's producer prices rose in June on year for the first time in nearly 2 years as farm products gained ground. The Bank of Korea said Thursday that producer prices inched up 0.1% last month and attributed the bump to livestock products, which have seen increases for 10 straight months now. From a year earlier, livestock products shot up more than 16% in June.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Moon Gon-yong live from Seoul.
Mobile shopping market for the dual use of the Korean name ECC and Japanese name C of Japan in school textbooks in the state of Virginia. Now today, July 17th, marks Korea's Constitution Day, which is a day when the nation's constitution was first proclaimed back in 1948. But the growing concern in the Korean society nowadays is that the younger generation especially do not know what the day is all about. Our Hwang Ji-hye went out to the streets to find out.
내일 7월 17일 무슨 날인지 알아요?
아니요, 몰라요.
제헌절이 무슨 날인지는 알아요?
네. 헌법이 만들어진 날?
혹시 내일 7월 17일 무슨 날인지 알아요?
내일 잘 모르겠는데. 그러니까 제헌절이라는 날은 있는 건 아는데 그거에 대해서 자세하게 아는 거는 별로.
Most of these teenagers on the street had no idea what Constitution Day is, and even if they knew, very few knew it fell on July 17th. A recent survey of some 12,000 elementary school students shows only half fully understand what the day is all about. A quarter didn't know what Constitution Day is, while 12% confused the day with other national holidays. Since 2008, Korea's Constitution Day stopped being a national holiday, a possible reason for the lack of understanding. So why was it removed? Simply because there were too many holidays. And to raise awareness of the day, the Constitutional Court of Korea is opening its doors to the people. Students attend lectures, take quizzes, and try on the robes of the judges. Through that process, they get to appreciate the significance of Constitution Day and gain a better understanding of their own basic rights.
By coming here, I got some questions I had about the Constitution and about the court answered. It was good to come here because I got to learn things I couldn't learn in school.
Experts say it's important for people, and in particular the nation's younger generation, to appreciate Constitution Day as it lays the foundation for mature citizenship.
By going through the meaning of the Constitution, students will realize what is the meaning of democracy, the rule of law, and the meaning of basic rights of the citizens, basic liberties.
The court plans to hold the event every year. Hwang Ji-hye, ARIRANG News.
China has released its 14th set of confessions from Japanese war criminals. In its attempt to raise global awareness of Japan's wartime atrocities amid its disputes with Tokyo over history and territory, the Chinese government is publishing the confessions every day for 45 days. Our Kim Hyun-bin has the latest on the details of this release.
In the latest war criminal confession to be released by China, Geishi Shimioka, an officer of Japanese Imperial Army, admits that troops under his control used to engage in human target practice. He says that at the time, it was his unit's policy was to build up soldiers' courage by letting them shoot at Chinese prisoners of war. In July 1942, in Taiwan City, 220 POWs were used as live targets, and each Japanese cadet was ordered to kill POW.
In another instance, 340 new recruits killed 340 prisoners of war.
On top of this, Japanese troops used germ warfare on villages spreading typhoid and cholera to the residents. They also raped hundreds of women and executed them after, in an attempt to hide evidence.
After a young woman was raped, lower-ranked troops were often ordered to rape the woman's mother.
Geishi also confessed to personally killing numerous civilians and POWs using a traditional sword carried by Japanese officers. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
Well, U.S. President Obama came out and spoke to the press on Wednesday, and he has laid down the law, a new set of sanctions on Russia for supporting rebels in Ukraine. In the latest attempt to punish Moscow and squeeze its $2 trillion economy, the United States, acting in concert with the European Union, imposed a sanction on Russian banks, energy companies, and defense firms.
These sanctions are significant, but they are also targeted, designed to have the maximum impact on Russia while limiting any spillover effects on American companies or those of our allies.
Now, among the companies hit by the U.S. penalties are Rosneft, Russia's largest oil company, and Gazprom Bank, which is the country's third largest lender. Moscow has been accused of providing arms to pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine's east. Now, Korea has experienced rapid growth over the past few decades and is doing extremely well when it comes to things like exports, cutting-edge technology, and the like. But economic development doesn't seem to match up to the nation's level of happiness. A survey conducted by Ipsos Mori, a leading market research company in the UK, found that just 64% of Koreans said they were happy. Well, this placed Korea 19th out of the 20 countries surveyed, so close to last. In the least happy country, Spain, only 59% of people felt satisfied with their lives. Sweden, on the other hand, topped the list with 88% saying they're happy. Canada and Australia ranked second and third, respectively. Well, Korean dramas and Korean pop music have made a name for themselves on the global stage in recent years, and this has left many wondering whether Korean fashion is next. Well, those taking part in the country's largest fashion trade show certainly think it is. Here's our Park Ji-won.
The next global trend to come out of Korea is believed to be K-fashion, following in K-pop's footsteps. This show is part of Korea's biggest fashion business market and trade fair, which aims to help the country's up-and-coming designers venture into the overseas market. EXO, one of the hottest K-pop idol groups around, attended the opening to boost exposure of K-fashion. For designers, trade shows like this are considered the first step towards presenting their works on runways at major collections around the world. That's why young Korean designers like Kim Hee-jin participate in the fair, hoping it leads to lucrative opportunities.
In just a couple of hours, I was approached by foreign buyers from China and Italy. They said they like my designs, and it seems like contracts will soon follow.
Influential foreign buyers think Korean designs have what it takes to thrive on the global market.
Back to basics in the colors and in the fabrics, but with this extreme cure about details. So everything that reminds me about a little bit like Rick Owens, Gareth Pog.
Over 120 brands and designers participate in the three-day event, which acts as a sneak preview for some of the trends that may reappear during Seoul Fashion Week in October. Park Ji-won, ARIRANG News.
Well, if you walk on the streets of Korea, you'll find that many are fashionistas here. So perhaps K-fashion will make it big in the global stage. But now here's a look at the growing arts and culture scene, and of course for that our Im Yoon-hee joins me live in the studio. Good afternoon to you, Yoon-hee.
Good afternoon.
So today we're going to start off with the work of an iconic artist being shown here in the nation for the very first time.
Right. So Norwegian artist Edvard Munch, he's considered one of the most important contributors to modern art, and his iconic works have really been shown all over the world, including a few pieces that I think most of us have seen before. Take a look.
Dark colors, shadows, and shades. Something painted by many artists afore. But these somber images are done by the same artist responsible for one of the most recognized works of art. Norwegian painter Edvard Munch is known for his German expressionism style. But he's most known for his piece, The Scream. The deflated balloon head leaning over a railing is a figure those familiar with art, as well as those far removed, have probably seen at least once in their lifetime.
Edvard Munch is considered a pioneering leader of Expressionism. While he was developing his style, Impressionism was heavily seen in the art communities, but he felt it was important to portray his inner self. He was an artist of distortion and strong colors who brought forth what the eyes wouldn't normally see.
The Seoul Art Center is currently hosting Korea's first Munch exhibition, with over 99 different works on display, including the many bright and cheery works the artist is less known for. Motifs of happiness were often favored by Munch, albeit his emotionally disturbed reputation. But sometimes, the many vivid colors still weren't enough to hide his scars. The various different types of the landmark artist's works line the walls, offering a look at his progression as an artist, along with his many experimental works. Munch went back and forth from printmaking to painting, something that has resulted in a collection of tens of thousands of some similar, yet all very unique pieces.
Munch was known for his printmaking as well. Unlike other artists, when he created a lithograph, he would put all the colors on and stamp it just one time. So his art may not be very detailed or dynamic, but it shows the lines and fibers of the tree it's carved from. The Kiss is a favorite amongst his lithograph series, and you can see the differences between each version. You can also see in this series that he was really experimenting with this form of art.
Edvard Munch has not only contributed to the world of art, but to everyday life as well, as the father of the selfie. He's an artist who wasn't afraid to try something new, even expanding into video art. And his legacy will live on in art everywhere.
Well, Yoonhee, in your report earlier on, we saw a black and white version of Munch's The Scream, very famous. But I could say that, you know, with certainty that I've seen other versions out there.
Right, so there are actually 4 different versions of The Scream that are very well known. He started creating them starting from 1893 to 1910, and you'll see this first version in 1893 was made from tempera. It's actually the most famous version he's created. Now, this next version, 1895, was done in pastel and actually sold for $120 million in 2012, which was the highest record amount sold for any artwork at that time. And now this version was actually stolen from the Munch Museum in Oslo. And after it was recovered, it was restored, but the museum has been hesitant to release it to other museums again. And now there's another version that Munch created, but as you heard just a bit ago, he also created a lithograph, which is this black and white copy. And you know, the fact that Norway is lending out this copy of Munch's paintings after they were stolen is very rare, you know, a very unique chance to see it. This copy, this lithograph, was actually shown in MoMA in New York, and it's now being shown for the second time ever outside of Norway here in Seoul, so a very unique opportunity for all of us.
Right, right. So, you know, definitely not something that we can, you know, come by every day, so definitely something that we should take advantage of and go check it out.
Right. So Munch, you know, is very celebrated in all over the world, but especially in Norway. Last year actually marked the 150th birthday of the artist, and so the country to celebrate held an event, and so they actually had a gallery showing, and 10% of the population, which is 5 million people in Norway, visited this event. So it really speaks to the dedication they have to the artist and, you know, the reverence they hold for him.
Right, and you know, Korea has been expanding its exposure to Western art. I mean, we talked about this not too long ago. We talked about it in the works of Picasso or Gustav Klimt, but you know, with all these masterpieces, I'm sure that seeing it in person is very different. It's a very different experience than seeing it from our footages. So what's it like?
Right, so nowadays with the internet, the game of art really has changed. You know, you have access to so many different masterpieces, but you know, I really believe going and seeing these works in person, whether they be the real thing or replica, really just gives you a, you know, a whole different experience. And so with Munch as well, he has some beautiful masterpieces there that you really can see. I mean, everyone has seen The Scream, but he has other beautiful works as well. But I must tell you, the security there is absolutely crazy. crazy. So I was there, long lines, because people are huge fans of Munch, but at the same time you cannot get close because they really do want to protect his works. And so they have, buzzers and alarms everywhere, but a very unique opportunity that I think everyone should take an advantage of.
I mean, and I understand them completely, having stolen two of his pieces earlier on, and his art deserves all the protection.
They don't want to risk it again.
All right, Yunhee, thank you so much for that report.
Pleasure.
Good afternoon. It's currently raining in the south of the nation and a monsoonal front is slowly moving north, which will affect the central region later this afternoon. Now we can expect a very unpredictable weather today, not only with the rain, but with thunderstorm as well. And warnings are already in effect in some regions. Now also because of the rain, temperatures have dropped slightly compared to yesterday. Now, the amount of rain we are expecting isn't a lot, as Seoul and surrounding areas will see of up to 60 millimeters of precipitation, while others will get about 5 to 40. Now, going over to our temperature readings, Seoul will top out to 31 this afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan will both peak up to 26 degrees. Now moving over to other regions, Jeju Island tops over to 28, Dokdo also peaks up to 28, while Namkung tops to 32. Well, that's all for now. Michelle Park, and back to you, Kanyeon.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for that. And that's just about all for me at this hour. I'm Moon Gun-young. Check back with us at 4 p.m. Korea time for Business Today.